We recognize the archetype, the lone horseman on the edge of a fading empire, whose survival carves out a destiny that redefines the map. Today, that archetype is defined by a television series seen by millions across the globe. It depicts Ertuğrul Ghazi as a flawless, cinematic hero, a man who crosses swords with Templar knights and outsmarts Mongol commanders at every turn. But the true historical record is silent. No contemporary written evidence exists from his lifetime to support any of those specific storylines. Finding the real man requires looking past the television plots and state-sponsored chronicles. We have to examine the evidence left in the 13th century Anatolian frontier. The investigation begins with this gap in the timeline. Ertugrul's name does not appear in any surviving written chronicle until 100 to 150 years after his death. When he finally appears in 15th century Ottoman texts, he arrives as a fully formed legend. These chronicles present him as the leader of the Kayi tribe and the son of a great figure named Süleyman Shah. Those stories served a specific political purpose. The expanding Ottoman dynasty needed a prestigious origin story, a direct, unbroken lineage to the Oghuz and Kayi branches to justify their authority over rival Turkic tribes. Yet successful states often simplify their beginnings. A chaotic struggle for survival on a volatile border is carefully rewritten into a story of divine destiny and noble inheritance. This construction of memory continued for centuries. By the late 1800s, as the empire's power fractured, Sultan Abdul Hamid II invested heavily in restoring Ertugrul's monuments to project an image of deep-rooted strength. The Ertugrul, recorded in early books and celebrated by later sultans, functioned as an ideological tool. These chronicles provided the specific ancestor needed to justify an expanding state. To find concrete proof that he existed, historians rely on numismatics, the study of coins. This is the historical anchor. It is a silver coin minted by his son, Osman. The Arabic inscription stamped into the silver reads, Osman bin Ertugrul bin Gündüz Alp. Osman, son of Ertugrul, son of Gündüz Alp. This small piece of metal confirms Ertugrul was a real historical figure. However, it also challenges the official Ottoman narrative, naming his father as Gündüz Alp and contradicting the later stories of Süleyman Shah. To understand his life, consider the geopolitical reality. This map shows the 13th century Mongolian Empire. As Mongol forces swept west, destroying the Seljuk Sultanate, thousands of nomadic refugees were pushed toward the Byzantine border. In this environment, Ertugrul appears as a practical survivor, navigating a narrow corridor between massive, warring superpowers. He was a Ghazi. These were frontier warriors whose livelihoods depended on seizing resources and exploiting weaknesses along the borderlands. Daily life was defined by the requirements of a semi-nomadic existence. His primary responsibility was moving families and livestock between summer and winter pastures to avoid starvation and enemy raids. Over time, he took on the role of an uchbey, a frontier leader responsible for protecting these volatile border zones. His strategic achievement was securing a base of operations. This is Sout, a remote, hilly location, perfectly suited for a community holding its ground. Warfare here involved small-scale cavalry skirmishes, control of trade routes, and capturing modest regional strongholds like the nearby Karajahizar Castle. His actual success came from balancing localized warfare with diplomacy, adapting to immediate threats to secure a future for his community. Long after his death, his final resting place became a central point of identity for generations of Ottomans. Later Ottoman rulers who built sprawling imperial palaces across multiple continents still return to this modest grave on a remote frontier. Ertuğrul Ghazi secured a small, defensible pocket of land, providing the practical foundation that his son, Osman, would use to build an empire. Ertuğrul remained significant despite the silence of a written record. History often leaves only a trail of traces, and his survival in such a brutal environment provides a compelling story on its own. Ertuğrul Ghazi's survival in this landscape provided the necessary space for a 6th-century dynasty to emerge. This endurance in a brutal world remains his most verifiable contribution.